give it another 30 seconds, then we'll kick off. Okay, so we'll get kicked off. I'd like to say hello and welcome to everyone. My name is David Hobson. I am Winfo's UK Sales Director. I'll be your host today. I'm delighted to welcome everyone to the webinar, and as part of a series we're running on this topic, we plan to keep it fairly brief, so we have a 30-minute slot booked. But the topic today is really all about how Winfo solutions can help Oracle Cloud applications customers, particularly with the latest version 22 A release in mind, assure their testing strategy is solid and ultimately aim to help our customers reduce the time, cost, and risk of testing by automating the whole process with our product WATS. I'm joined today by two colleagues, Hari and Rajeshwari, who are experts in this area. And in a moment, I will hand over to them to introduce themselves. They're going to share what they see are the key challenges and opportunities of testing, along with a number of insights and experiences, which will definitely resonate with this audience. Just a few housekeeping points to cover, namely, this webinar is being recorded, so by attending, you're providing your consent to that to ensure we're GDPR compliant. Also, please note that your microphones are muted, you don't see the other attendees, but we do, and we will be also monitoring a chat window for any questions that come up. So you'll see a chat icon at the bottom of the screen. So if you just click on that, if you want to post a question, we'll field those a little bit later on. We've allowed a few minutes at the end just to cover those off, but we'll try to be as dynamic with that as we can. Lastly, we're also going to be sharing a few links at the end, which are useful, linking to some YouTube videos we've done and some other useful links, perhaps one in particular, an email address, sales@winfosolutions.com. If you'd like to ping us any other inquiries, we'll be happy to field those. Okay, so I'd like to introduce our speakers now. So Hari, over to you first.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Dave. Hello, everyone, and welcome to the webinar. My name is Hari, and I'm a Managing Director in Winfo Solutions. My background is I've spent a large part of the last 20 years as a program manager and a solution architect. I specialize in large-scale ERP transformation projects, primarily underpinned by Oracle ERP, both ERP Cloud and e-business suite. Today I will be providing my insights in this capacity, working with clients very closely as a trusted advisor in getting the maximum out of their investments in their ERP. Over to you, Dave.
Okay, thanks, Hari. Great, thanks. Rajeshwari, do you want to provide a brief introduction to yourself, please?
Thank you, David. Hello, everybody. I'm Rajeshwari. I'm a functional consultant at Winfo, currently working for a client on a cloud testing project, and I will describe that a little later. I'm the consulting lead for this particular project that I've been working very closely with the client, and we have seamlessly tested the 22A release, and I will share my experience with everyone.
Great stuff. Thanks, Rajeshwari. Okay, so thanks for that. So let's move on. And what we'd like to do now is to start to set the scene a little bit. So Hari, I'm going to kick off with you, and I guess what would be really helpful for context is to hear from you on what you're seeing in the market. How did we get to where we are? What do you see as the main challenges facing our customers in this testing space going forward?
Sure. I think, first of all, I'm sure, many people on this call are either Oracle customers or, thinking of becoming one. I mean, the benefits of moving to SaaS product are well understood, right? I mean, it brings, resilience, agility, it helps with rapid scaling in line with business growth. You're always in the best of class. You're using standardized industry processes. There's cost reduction and there's continuous and proven innovative thinking there, right? So, many of these benefits are brought with a continuous release cycle, that this innovation delivers, right? And this means that you are never more than 90 days away from the latest best-in-class features and functions. So this is all, great. And this is why customers love moving into the cloud. However, with these upsides come with challenges as well. And I think we all need to be aware of it. And these needs to be addressed to ensure that, customers really get the maximum benefits out of their investments. And specifically, I think, the one that interests us today is the fact that once you've committed to this Oracle Cloud journey, the 90-day release cycle is part of the deal, right? So what it means is that every quarter, you need to be prepared for a new update. And that's great because it gives you new functionality. But what you don't want to do is build in disruption every 90 days, right? Which might impact some of your business critical processes as well. And for many of our clients that we have been involved in this testing cycle, we offer here certain common complaints, if you say. I wouldn't use the word complaints, but certain common observations. The time that they get for approving the new release into production is too short. I mean, Oracle gives a 2-week window, within which you'll have to test, you'll have to make sure that, if there are any issues, they are resolved, complete your testing cycle, get your business sign off, and then put it into production. So, the constant, they're up against time in the 2-week particular window. They also push back from the business because, you need to pull business resources to help with this quarterly update testing, and businesses have their own challenges as well. So there's constant pushback and resource constraint in that respect as well. And finally, what I also hear is, we've invested in a best-in-class ERP, and we get all these updates. But how can I ever be confident my testing process is similarly best-in-class as well, right? I need to keep up to date to ensure that my system is properly tested. So I think planning the testing is very, very important. It plays such a crucial role and actually plays a make or a break role, right? And especially if you're implementing a rollout or something like that, there's very, very little slack left because, you are up against a project plan and a timeline for you to, put things live. So there's no surprise that, huge amount of effort goes into testing, right from building the strategy, planning, and of course, execution as well. Now, with the cloud and everything now, our view is that the continuous releases cycle, this is really the new normal, and a robust automation testing regime and a tool is really no longer a nice to have, but absolutely essential, and can deliver massive business benefits as well, right? It can reduce, test timings, it can lower your resource demands, it can improve the quality of testing, etc. So, so I think, a robust testing regime is one to have, Dave.
Great. Okay, thanks for that, Hari. That's really helpful in terms of the context and the size and scale of the issue and the challenges that our customers face. So that's and again the common thread here that I guess that really reinforces around reducing time, cost, and risk. And as you say, automation is going to be really ever more important going forward with this the release cycles that customers are trying to deal with. Okay, so Rajeshwari, you're going to describe a specific client project you're currently working on in a moment, but I think it'd be useful just to get your feedback here and sort of maybe you could share your view and whether or not the scenario that Hari has just described, how does that resonate and what are you seeing on the ground? How does that sort of tie into that?
Yes, David, what Hari just described is exactly what I'm experiencing at my client's place. The whole point really is we have a comprehensive testing strategy, which is leveraging WATS, and that is making all the difference for us. We're getting so much more done with an automated tool versus all the manual work and effort we normally have to do on cloud testing projects. I have been working on other projects over the years, and we didn't have this level of automation. So WATS is certainly a big step forward.
And I think just to add to Raji as well, Dave, right? This is the feedback that we get out from our customers as well. I think the benefits are there for C, and I'm sure Raji is going to speak a little bit more about it. But I think, it all sounds so great, to adopt this automation. But I think the constant feedback is simplicity is what they're expecting, right? It needs to be easy to adopt, it needs to be easy to implement, and it needs to be easy to execute, right? And that's exactly what we've done with WATS as well. To help with customers, what we've done is we have delivered by providing out of the box hundreds of test scripts pre-built for all major functional areas, such as financials, procurement, HR, PPM is a big one as well. And I think all these pre-built scripts, we constantly keep it updated and aligned to the latest release cycle of the Oracle Cloud Apps, right? What it means is that customers automatically get their updated test scripts based on their release, and it really helps them to kind of speed up and scale, and really use it for business critical releases. The latest 22 release A, 22A, for example. And I think, this was one of the more complex ones. There was a lot of technical updates happening in the background. And many of the customers actually, if you think about it, have decided not to apply this in 22 and push it out to later as well. Right. But with a testing regime where you are able to scale up to such challenges is extremely important. So simplicity is one of the key aspects of what we've built into the tool as well.
Excellent. Okay, thanks, Hari. Yeah, so simplicity and speed by automating with the right tool is the way to go. So I think that where that sort of takes us is so the deferral of the 22A release. And I think the reality is, though, that as we said, the 22B release is right around the corner. So that's imminent. And there's no indication that any further deferral is going to happen. That's just it's going to be presented to clients. They're going to have to apply it. So I suppose it kind of calls into question the change management strategy. And again, end-to-end testing, making sure that as things are moved from development to production, no surprises as such, and things are actually as they should be. And that's where it kind of ties into the risk aspect, I think, when we talk about this quarterly cycle. So I guess where we're at is another key point, which I think Rajeshwari is going to talk a little bit more about as she describes the client project she's working on, is the fact that we've had some great support from Oracle in this. I mean, they know this isn't necessarily, they built some brilliant, really comprehensive cloud applications, but in this particular area, there's a bit of a gap. So I think they've been really supportive of us recognizing that Winfo has brought, value to the party. So that's very positive. Okay, so Rajeshwari, let's talk a little bit about this project that you're working on, and maybe you can just elaborate on sort of scale and scope and, specific experiences you've had. What are the learnings, that have sort of transpired on this project, if you can share that with us.
Thanks, David. I have been working on a client's testing project for the 22A release recently on exactly along the lines that you and Hari have been talking about. And I would like to share my experience here. Firstly, I just wanted to say that at the moment, I'm not at liberty to divulge the client's name, but there are some really interesting headlines I would like to talk about. The client is one of the top 50 early adopters who had agreed to take the 22A release, and WATS was used for the functional side of testing across all financial modules, including accounts payable, accounts receivable, cash management, general ledger, fixed assets, intercompany, plus the project financial management modules and Oracle's time and labor modules as well. I would like to highlight some vital statistics here that are worth noting. The testing was done across 3 different ledgers in the US, UK, and Germany, and that is covering more than 50 legal entities. We worked in 2 phases, and that is in 2 different development environments with 3 people in the team doing the testing, including me. And we volume tested more than 3,000 scripts in just under 12 working days. But the point to note here is that this is really partial effort along with other daily work, so not a full-time effort on testing. So that provides an overview, but there are a few other things to note that we experienced during the testing. Oracle was giving us patches throughout the testing phase, plus the dev environment was not entirely stable. So that was a challenge, but we got through them by working closely with the client and Oracle. Also, the dev environment was slow, and we discovered it was not a recent refresh from production, meaning the data was not up to date. Say, for example, projects were outdated, but again, with good communication, we managed. Also, we realized that as we went through this process, there were few middleware changes in Oracle, but The good news is we completed testing the end-to-end scenarios covering all modules, that is with WATS. Another point to share as an FYI is that during the impact analysis, we found that 22A did not have many new features or functionality as such, but it did impact the FRC reports. Also, comprehensive testing across multiple ledgers was a challenge, but we were able to leverage WATS, and the testing automation meant that the client could actually focus on other aspects of the patch release. Back to you, David.
Okay, thanks, Ashwari. That was brilliant. So a lot of very interesting points raised there. Just a couple of things that strike me that are perhaps worth mentioning again as a recap. Close working with the client, as we know, is always essential. But when you're talking about underlying system issues with the performance of the dev environment or patches that are needed, as I mentioned before, making sure we had those, we could leverage those deep relationships we have with Oracle, and we can actually get problems fixed, remedied quickly is really key. I think the other point that really jumps out at me in terms of the client, by leveraging the automation of WATS, was actually able to more focus on validation of test output rather than the actual doing of that work, which is time consuming and labor intensive, et cetera, et cetera. So that's good. And as you touched on, even in a complex sort of multi-country, multi-ledger, we know a lot of our larger clients are huge organizations with a lot of complexity. But being able to deal with that is super important. And as you say, we were able to successfully do those end-to-end tests. So that's brilliant. Okay, just moving on, I guess the key thing we wanted to touch on now around the WATS implementation approach. And what we're going to do is just show a slide here, which Harry's going to take us through.
Sure. Thank you, David. I think this. Just wanted to kind of take you through this particular slide, and Raji, thank you for your insights on the project. 3,000 test scripts is just an awesome amount of testing, and 22A is so crucial to ensure no business disruption. This also brings into the fact the picture as to how you're able to do so many scripts as well. So if you look at the whole setup that we did for this particular client, we were able to get up and running very quickly, and this is the approach that we followed, and we follow for the others as well. So if you look at on the left-hand side, I talked about our test script library earlier on. So there are ready-to-use test scripts already in our library, covering most of the functional areas, hundreds of test scripts that clients can directly start using in an ERP cloud environment. Custom scripts can be added as well. And, this could be the case where, if you have any specific customizations, any integrations that you do, that can be added to that. And what we would do is we would work with the clients to get that up and running as part of the initial implementation. There's the WATS script assistant that you see here. That's a plugin that you get in your browser to be able to record what you do in the application and actually create a script. So if you want to create a script, you can actually go to the application, start your record, do your steps, and then come back, and then it creates a script for you, right? And you also do so by modifying. Then you create your test run templates, and test run templates is where our clients really love this, right? So because you can create your own templates. So I've seen P2P template created, right? It gives you an end-to-end from requisition onwards to payment. So that's one template. Or you can create a template for accounts payable module, PPM module. So, you can create an end-to-end scenario template. You can create multiple templates. And this is where I think you can, create your templates, pick the scripts that you want from your library, and there you go. And then there's the input test data as well. And this is done easily through an Excel integration that we have. The Excel integration would call out the mandatory input parameters that you need, the unique ones that you need. You plug it in, put it into the application, and there you go, right? And it populates it. And the input test data is really a one-time one. The reason I call it as a one-time is once you've done it, is that, for subsequent releases, you can use the same data over and above. So if you see that box there, the first three steps are really a one-time setup. Once you've done that, you've got your up and running, and then you're into execution. You click the button, execute as many times as you want, as many business units that you want. So you don't have to restrict yourself. You can choose the test scope, with the fact that, if it's all going to run in the background, and you can run it as many times as you want. And finally, the reports, and David, you touched upon this important point earlier on as well. So reporting comes apart from obviously giving you, the failures and the passage. Every single evidence of testing, i.e. the screenshots of every step is recorded. And the way that I've seen clients do this is, they would provide the WATS evidence to business users. Business users would then review it and then sign it off. So, you're not really asking for resources to actually carry out the testing, but just to verify the evidence and sign it off. And auditors have been happy with this approach as well, because they've got everything, there, all the evidence for them to see. And then there's the SharePoint integration to ensure all the PDFs are stored securely in your document repository. And there's Jira integrations as well for the failed scripts. You can directly integrate in your Jira, raise a defect, ensure that the defect is closed, and then rerun the scenario as well. So if you see, it may sound daunting that, I have to do 3,000 scripts, but if you see the one-time setup is really a one-time setup. Once you've got that up and running, the actual execution is pretty simple, right? And then you can do it over and again. And it comes very, very quickly. 22B is around the corner, right? So 90-day is not far away as well. So I just wanted to kind of talk through the slide there.
Okay, thanks, Hari. That's great. One quick question while we just linger on this slide for a moment. From your experiences and from multiple projects that we've undertaken thus far, what's the sort of indicative timeline or man-day effort that would be relevant for this sort of scenario?
It's a good question. And again, goes back to the theme of simplicity. So because we've got all these existing test script library, we can get this up and running in a matter of weeks, between 2 and 4 weeks, right? The standard scripts can straight away we start using, depending on, any custom scripts that need to be added, we'll work with the client to get it up and running, but it's fairly quick. As I said, between 2 and 4 weeks, we can get the system up and running. Okay,
brilliant. Okay. I'm just going to stop the share and we should be back on video mode now, as it were. So that's great information. Thanks for that. So we're sort of moving along nicely here. We're now going to have a look at the chat thread. A few questions have already come through and they've been fed over to me, which I'll pose the questions to your good selves. And I guess the point to reemphasize is that this is a very brief description and overview of the product. I mean, there's a lot more detail available. As I think I mentioned before, we have various links and whatnot that we'll share so people can kind of deep dive at a level that's suitable for them. We like the YouTube videos are also just a good flavor, but certainly we can set up demos and other things that could help people out. And just to recap a couple of points about the quarterly release cycle. And the fact that this deferral for adoption or applying the 22A release is not indefinite, right? So, I mean, clearly, as we've sort of touched on, there was the point about, complexity under the covers. So there's a lot of non-functional complexity that was part of the 22A release. So that caused some customers to pause. But going forward, again, 22B is right around the corner. So we're kind of keen to get stuck in and get what's out there so people can start using it, leveraging it, getting the benefit. And I suppose another key point to make about WATS is that when we look at how a demo could happen as well. Again, as you said, the speed for a live implementation is fairly rapid, and we can set up demos on short order. So anybody who's interested, we'll tackle those as they come in. But we've already run loads of demos, but that again kind of brings it to life for people.
And just to kind of add to that point, sorry to interrupt, David, just to kind of add to your point on the 22B release, and the fact that we've got these updated scripts as well. In fact, the client that Raji, you were talking about that you are working currently is also an early adopter for 22B as well. And, you've got the scripts updated for those.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Okay, is that correct, Raji? Rajeshwari, anything to add to that?
Yeah, like Hari just pointed out, the client that I'm working for is an early adopter for 22B, and that they've gone with all the confidence that we've done with 22A. So yes, 22B is going to be with us very soon.
Okay, and as you say, as they've been through the automated test regime approach using WATS for 22A, now they've got some confidence going forward, which is great. A couple other questions that have come through. I think we have time for a few. The first one, Harry, probably over to yourself, is just on ROI period in terms of the overview on where return on investment could be realized.
Yes. I think it's a question that I often get asked as well. And I actually work with clients on the business case. And if you look at the benefits that it offers, the business disruption, the demand on resources, etc. It's there for everyone to see. I mean, it just pays for itself. The payback, a typical payback is, within a year, it pays it back. It's just a lot of benefits. So, the clients just loved it. It's easy business case. I would say, you get your return of income back within a year.
Okay, great. I think this one came through, which is saying, can I have instances on the cloud and use them across several geographically distant sites? And I suppose we've really touched on that before about how complex some of our customer organizations are. But Rajeshwari, just a sort of a restatement on that one, if you would.
Sure. Yeah, the scope that for the client that I worked on for the 22A release, it covered multiple ledgers, US, UK, and Germany, and covering many legal entities from across the globe, and that across many business units as well. So to answer the question, yes, that is possible to test using WATS.
Okay, and Rajeshwari, one other question for you, which I think you've touched on, and Harry possibly as well, about the question was beyond the out-of-the-box scripts you mentioned across the business areas. What if I needed to modify a script or custom build some scripts for my environment? Could you comment?
Definitely. I think, as I said, our experience is that, 80+% of the scripts can be used out of the box. But there will be certain scripts that will require, amendments, for example, some new configuration or new customizations or, any pass extensions or any integrations. So we would work with our clients, to initially make sure that, we help them update these scripts as a one-time setup that you saw in this particular script. So absolutely, yes, apart from the standard out-of-the-box ones, we'll help customers of any custom scripts that are required as well.
Okay, here's a good one that came in. Can I try before I buy?
Well, I'm not sure if my sales folks are going to, like this, but I'm going to say yes, absolutely, 100%, right? So, as I said, getting it up and running is very, very quick, right? And we'd be more than happy to work with yourselves to set it up, and you can try it before you buy. 100%, yes.
Okay. Very reassuring. Thank you for that. I think we have probably time for one more question, perhaps. There was a question here about who will maintain the test scripts when Oracle releases new upgrades?
Again, a good point, right? So this is where I think, collaboration with Oracle is so important for us, right? So, we obviously are partners with Oracle, and we have many clients who use WATS. We use it, right? So we constantly, as and when new releases comes, we constantly update the scripts, and we would make it ready for our clients, during their testing window. So these scripts are updated according to the latest release. So yeah, it's our responsibility to update those, particular scripts from a client perspective.
Okay, great. Thanks, Harry. So we do have several additional questions, but I think we're really sort of timing out now. We're at the end of the allotted time. So I think what we'll do is respond individually to those people who posed those questions. But as I said, that really kind of brings us to the end of this webinar. I suppose there are a whole range of good questions. I'm going to put up a slide in a moment with some links. We do have the contact details of all the people who attended the webinar, so we will forward some information to them. As I said before, you can always contact us through multiple channels. Hopefully you'll enjoy the links. That really brings us to the end of the webinar. So thanks so much for your time. I will just, as the last moment here, I will put up the slide with the links. And as I say, if you screenshot it, great. Otherwise, we will be in touch. We've got your details. So we'll send that over to everyone who attended the webinar today. So I'll just leave that up for a few seconds, but really nothing further than to say thanks for your time, and hope you enjoyed the content. And thanks to our expert panel of Hari and Rajeshwari. Thanks from us, and have a great day.
Thank you very much. Thanks, all.